Ms. Trotter, you have done this work and committed your life to this work. And as we have conversations about violence on a regular basis, there's got to be something that we're missing. Yes. Because in so many cases, we have conversation after conversation after conversation, but we fail to crack the pragmatic engagement that begins to see us making a real difference. What are we not doing by way of the conversations that we're having? And from your work, how do we turn the tide to move from rhetoric to pragmatic engagement?
So thank you, Jeff. I want to say we're missing the holistic view. We're missing seeing the whole child and everything connected and everyone connected to the child. We're missing the social emotional learning and teaching that teaches children how to be responsible, teaches children how to be caring, the empathy. We're missing that piece. And as you cannot hear me, oh my goodness, we're missing, is that better? We're missing the whole child. We're missing the mind, body, spirit that connects us all together. We're missing the holistic approach, looking at nutrition, looking at the emotional issues, also looking at their empathy. How do we teach kids empathy? Teaching kids social skills, learning skills, skills that enable them to be able to deal with conflicts or to deal with anger. And not only the children, we're missing that with the parents, we're missing that with the teachers, because children role model what they see. We're missing that with our whole society. If we look at it, we're only in a vacuum, a classroom. We're missing what we're looking at, what America is doing, what the whole world is doing, emanating, showing about violence, showing about taking all. We're not doing enough of the message of peace. There have been several schools that have done just understanding what children are, teaching children relaxation skills, teaching kids conflict resolution, teaching kids how to express themselves. Now, we all send our kids to school. We go to school too, but we need to learn those kind of skills. And we have done programs where we have shown kids these skills. We've worked with teachers, we work with parents and community, and as a result of it, we've seen a reduction in suspension rate. We've seen an increase in coping skills. And guess what we've seen on the other side? An increase in educational learning and academic performance. There you have it. These programs coexist. They're done. They're done in Atlanta. They're done in California. They're done in Texas. When people have picked up, whether it's mindfulness or whether it's relaxation skills, whether it's teaching kids just social skills, how to interact, because they're social beings, but they're also spiritual beings too. And we have to teach them about caring for one another and what the effects in their behavior does to somebody else. Jeff?
And Denise, before you jump in, Mr. Trotter, I'm concerned about what I see when it comes to the barriers of what we know is practical versus what policy gives us the ability to do. And so you talked about this whole notion of looking at the whole child and understanding that one of the conversations that happened as many of us watched in horror of this young girl was tossed around like a rag doll in South Carolina was what were some of the issues that this baby dealt with before she got to school.
That's right.
And there are policy issues that sometimes prevent teachers and educational professionals who get it to even presenting meditation as an option. Because for them it's not connected to pedagogy.
Right.
So how do we deal with navigating some of the things we know that work, especially when we have audiences of young people at school where we know we can use some of this work? How do we navigate policy that stands in the way with best practice that we know creates transformation?
You be creative. You don't call it meditation. You call it relaxation. You know, we're just going to teach them to breathe. We all breathe. You're going to teach them how to deep breathe. And breathing in, you're also going to teach them visualization, which you want a child to use or anyone to use in terms of test taking or seeing the consequences or seeing what they want to happen, whether going through a fear base. You want to teach them those skills. You want to teach them affirmation, that they can learn, they are peaceful. You want to teach them that they're spiritual beings, and not say spiritual, that they're caring beings. Let me watch my language here in terms of educators, that they're caring beings and they're concerned, and that if they hurt someone else, the empathy of when you hurt somebody else, you hurt yourself too. And don't you want to learn how to make somebody else feel good, because how do you want to feel? So you have to teach them some of those skills. My colleague, Dr. Ra, is in the school, middle school. He's doing it every day, teaching children how to have empathy, how to do conflict resolution. So I'd ask him to talk about that because he's in an educational system.
Well, Doc, I'm going to come back to you in 1 second because I want Denise to chime in on one of the remarks that you made earlier.
I just wanted to chime in on the social emotional learning component. We have that built into our curriculum in Atlanta Public Schools. We have advisement, and so that's a period of time when we can teach children soft skills, and those are the skills that we really need to focus on for children for life. It's those skills of saying please and thank you, being kind to one another, being empathetic, learning how to accept defeat, learn how to be joyful when your peers are doing well, and just being accepting of one another. And so we're really focusing on that very heavily. And so we're driving that curriculum in all of our middle schools right now, and we have a focused cluster of schools that contain elementary, middle, and high schools, and we're driving that curriculum now in those schools in hopes of spreading it throughout the district over the next 3 to 5 years.
So when you do something like that, especially for those practitioners who are here, number one, how do you ensure the implementation? Because I know folks that are education professionals that I don't want touching that.
Right. That's why we're doing it slowly, and we're doing it methodically and very intently. And so what we're doing is we've hired someone to focus on driving that curriculum, and we have coaches that we've also hired in the different feeder patterns for our district. And so that way we can make sure there's fidelity in the program implementation, because it's very important to us. We're going around and we're checking to make sure we're having that circle time where children can express themselves in the morning when they first come to school. We've asked the teachers to really reach out to those children, connect with them one-on-one, look at them every day, acknowledge that they're there, that they're present, that you're important, that you deserve to be heard. And so we're making that an intentional practice among all of the staff people in the building.
So before I go to Dr. Ra and then Dr. Treadwell, give me a sense of what success looks like. So as that kind of program is entering into middle schools, what does success look like from a principal's perspective? What does success look like if I'm a parent watching a child come home who's being engaged with that? How do you all assess that?
Success looks like a decrease in suspension rates, decrease in conflicts that are volatile in the school. Success looks like children that are more empathetic and more understanding. They can turn to one another for support, peer support, as well as turn to the adults. Success to me would look like a child being able to resolve their own problem at some point instead of always having to turn to me, but initially turn to me for that guidance, and I can model for you good behavior. Because we as adults also need to model good behavior for children, and sometimes we don't always do that.
So some of us need more training than they do. Dr. Ra, if you can chime in, because obviously you're doing this work and have seen some wins in some cases. So talk about some of the work that you're doing in that regard.
I would like to first agree with the last statement, is that we as adults have to begin to model the type of behavior that we want our children to participate in. It is one thing for a child to be told what to do. It is another thing for a child to see what they should do. And children are very funny animals. They do not do what they're told, but they definitely will do what they see. So if we begin to be the exemplification and the personification of what we want children to do, we will see more success with children. Now, what we want to do is to modify children's behavior. Violence is everywhere. It's an epidemic in this society. Let's not make no mistake about that. How do we curb, or how do we change violence as children see on a daily basis? They're coming from environments where all they see is abusive and misuse type of behavior. How do we begin to turn that around? We turn that around by each individual modeling the type of behavior we want children to see. Then when we teach them the skills of conflict management, conflict resolution, stress management, anger management, and positive communication skills, they will understand it better, because by that time we have gained trust. Once you gain trust with a child, it is easier to teach that child how to become more productive in our society. But if the children do not trust you, if they do not understand you, if you cannot come down to their level in order to relate to them and then lift them up, we're going to have and continue to have some serious problems in this society. So I say that we have to go back to the model of the 80s, where we said each one teach one. And we teach one by modeling the proper behavior that we want our children to do or to participate in.
Thank you so much.